Hello, thank you for taking a moment to watch this video. And on this particular training, we're going to talk about creating a link back to the lead or contact record that you're calling during a dial session. So just to give you a little bit of context here, as you're making calls through PhoneBurner, you're going to be powering through these calls, one right after the other, one right after the other, one right after the other. And then you may come across a specific contact that you connect with. And when you connect with them, there may be items or things that you need to do or update within that contact record back in the Zoho CRM. And so you want to have a quick and easy way to jump from the dial session window directly to that specific contact record's details. And so that's what we're going to talk about creating on our video today. We're going to actually create a workflow rule in Zoho that will automatically generate a link back to the specific contact record that will then be part of the contact record when you're making calls through PhoneBurner. So I've created this field called URL of lead profile. Now it might seem strange that I called it URL of lead profile. That's because I originally tested this a while back on the leads module, and I named the field URL of lead profile there, and I wanted to make sure that I don't have a bunch of different custom fields on PhoneBurner that essentially do the same thing. And so I named it exactly the same on the contact module, just so that I can reduce the total number of fields that may be created on the PhoneBurner system. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to go back to the Zoho setup page. In this particular case, I need to create a new workflow rule. I can't set this to be part of one of these existing rules that we've been creating. It has to be a new rule. So we're going to go ahead and click Create Rule. And this time we're not building the rule based off the calls module. We're building it off the contacts module. I'm going to name it Create Contact Link, and then I'm just going to put in a little description there and go to the next page. Now in this particular case, when do I want this particular rule to run? Now in this particular case, I want to have this rule run anytime I create or edit a contact within the system. And the reason why I'm doing create or edit is because I already have contacts. If we go back here, I already have contacts that exist on my account that don't have the URL. And so in order to get that there, I need to do it on create or edit. And I'm going to go ahead and check the repeat this workflow whenever a contact is edited, just to make sure that I never have a record that somehow slips through the cracks. And then we're going to go ahead and hit next. And now for our condition, we want to do this on all contacts. And then hit next. And for the instant action, while we are updating a field, right, we're going to be updating this field to have a URL in it, we actually need to run a function. So I'm going to click on function, and I'm going to write my own. I'm going to give it a function name of contact URL, display name contact URL, and then just a quick little description here, and click create. That's going to take me to this little function editor or whatever you want to call this. This allows me to actually create the programming within the Zoho UI that's actually going to process all of this stuff. And the function itself has just a few lines of code. So it's not super complicated. It's not super complex, but there are a couple pieces to the puzzle here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy in some code. Okay, so I have copied in the basics of the code that we need here. And the first thing we need to do is we actually need to get the contact ID, and we're actually going to have to create an argument that will allow us to fetch the contact ID of the record that is associated with the contact that this link needs to be added to. So we've got this right here where it says ID. That actually means nothing right now because we actually need to create an argument that will actually give that some value. So we're going to go ahead and create an argument. So I'm going to click on Edit Arguments. I'm going to name this ID. And now we need to define with this argument what the value of this ID is. So over here to the right in the param values, we're going to add a hashtag or $. We're going to go to the contacts module, and we're going to get the contact ID. Done and save. And so now with this argument, we're able to go and fetch the specific ID of each individual contact that would be edited so that we can get that updated. Now the next line here is to generate the URL of the lead, or in this case, the contact that we want to create. So we know the first part of the URL for every one of these records right here. This is the first part of every contact record. If we go back, you can see here, that is the first part of every record. Now, of course, this is going to be a little unique for each of you because your org is going to be different than mine, but that is always going to be the same in your organization. And the only thing we need to do is we need to add the ID that we fetched from the contact record that is being edited at the time. And then finally, let's jump down to line 4, update status. We're actually going to update the contact record and add the URL. So here you can see we're going to edit the field. So this is the field. Going back here, this is the field. You'll notice that it has underscores here. That's because we're using the API name of the field and not the display name of the field. And we're going to insert the URL of the lead, which is what we just defined right here. And that's it. It's a really simple set of code. We're going to go ahead and save that. And now we've got it added to our workflow. We're going to go ahead and save our workflow. And now let's go ahead and test it. Let's go back to a contact record. Let's edit the record. Once we edit the record, there you go. It popped up right there while we were looking at it. Anytime you edit the record, the system will now generate automatically the URL of that lead profile, or in this case, the contact will generate that contact link so that it will be there the next time you go to start a dial session. In fact, let's take a look at how this would work in a dial session. So let's go ahead and click the phone burner button. We'll start dialing, and now if we scroll down through all of our fields that we have on this particular record, you'll see the URL of lead profile is now listed there with a quick link back to that record within Zoho. So anyway, that's how easy it can be for you to create a workflow rule within your Zoho environment that will generate a URL linking back to the specific contact record within your Zoho account. So if you're in the middle of a long dial session, you don't have to go and search for that record. One click and you've got the full record back in Zoho right in front of you. Thank you for taking a moment to watch this video, and I hope this helps you and your organization get more done using the power of Phone Burner. Thanks again, and happy dialing.